everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commerce Corps studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a really exciting custom set, the Heroes of Skyrim custom Magic set made by Alano, whose name you might recognize if you've seen any of the amazing custom Dragon Highlander contests on this channel. Make sure you check those out. But first, let's check out these. And you check out the Magic Elder Scrolls Discord server, link in the description if you are interested in joining that. A fantastic community. Let's jump into it first, though. Of course, as a Commander player, I'm going to want to check out some of the awesome legendary creatures first, starting off with Ayla the Huntress. I love these designs. A 3/3 Nord Werewolf with Reach for 3 mana in Jund. Whenever a werewolf you control transforms, you may put a counter on it and have it fight target creatures. So that is quite nice, again, being really aggressive. And also, with this set, we do see some new interesting mechanics and keywords. Hunt is one of them. When this creature deals damage, if it isn't blocking, transform that. I love that. Yet another way to flip werewolves, essentially, in saying, hey, you know what? I don't need to actually wait until, the moon flips or, someone doesn't cast spells. I'm going to take the initiative on my own. Again, if I'm not blocking, if I'm fighting, if I'm attacking, all of a sudden, I get to flip over, and I flip over into Ayla, Savage Huntress, a 5/5 trampling werewolf. Whenever a werewolf you control transforms, you may put 2 counters on it and have it fight target creature. Whenever a creature opponent controls dies if it fought 1 or more werewolves you controlled this turn, draw a card. So some extra pump there, some fighting there, and also some card draw too, no matter what got taken out, which is lovely. Next up, though, Alduin World Eater. My goodness, here we go. A 12/12 Elder Dragon for 8 in Wooburg, plus an extra black mana in there too. So, what's that, 14 mana in total? But it's going to cost 1 less gas for each dragon creature card in your graveyard. So, basically, it can cost as low as 6 mana in total. Flying, protection from mana value 3 or less. So small things, sorry. No, you can't actually target this, which is lovely, or touch it, essentially. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield from your graveyard, each opponent loses 3 life. So reanimating dragons, very good. Also, by paying that, Wooburg plus black cost, return target dragon card from your graveyard to the battlefield, put a haste counter on it. So being able to get it out there and swing right away, that is huge. I love the design of this one. Very, very epic. Next up, Arcadia Cauldron Keeper, a 2/3 Imperial Alchemist for 3 mana in Esper. Whenever you cast an artifact spell you control, you may untap target artifact you control. So that can be absolutely huge. Whenever you tap an artifact, scry 1, and also prophesize again. A really cool mechanic, a really cool keyword. We'll get into exactly what that does here in a bit with a card that kind of shows that off. But yes, being able to actually, again, casting artifact spells make you untap artifacts. That is huge. I love that. You can think of so many cool things to do with it. On top of that scry effect, that could be a really cool thing to build around. Next up, Barbas Loyal Companion. Speaking of a really cool build around, a 3/3 Daedra Dog for 3 mana in Gruul. Prevent all damage sources you control would deal to Barbas Loyal Companion. For every 2 damage from this way, deals 1 damage to each opponent. Basically, let's just burn the world down, and all of a sudden, my dog is still fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, but how much damage did it get inflicted by? Yeah, I'm going to actually spread that damage out to all of you. 1 for every 2. So yeah, think Blasphemous Act, that's what, 6 damage to your opponents? That's 18 damage in total, counting, all 3 of them? That's lovely. So yeah, this is a great way to take advantage of damage doublers and just, yeah, burn the world type effects. Next up, Brynjolf. My apologies if I mispronounced anything. Master Thief, a 1/2 Nord Rogue for 2 mana in Orzhov. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield to control, each opponent loses 1 life. A great way to actually drain your opponents. On top of that, Pilfer, though, create a treasure token. When this creature attacks, a defending player's lost life this turn, create treasure token. I like that effect. Oh my goodness, that's really cool and can be utilized in so many cool ways. Next up, though, Jarl Balgruuf the Greater, if I said that right. A 3/3 Nord Noble for 3 mana in Naya. The first Imperial or Nord creature spell you cast each turn enters the battle with a haste counter on it. So yeah, go quick. Your opponents can't cast spells during combat. Lovely. Shut them down during that. But that being said, you may cast spells during combat as though they had flash. So get those things out of nowhere. Absolutely lovely. Next up, Jargo Self-Proclaimed Greatest. A 2/2 Khajiit Wizard that costs 4 mana. Is it? Whenever you cast an source spell, draw a card. By paying 3 mana in total, 1 damage each opponent. Yeah, this is just a great Spellslinger commander, being able to give you a ton of value for casting those spells. Next up, though, Cadillac Whitemane, a 4/4 Nord Werewolf for 5 mana in Jund. Whenever a creature control deals non-combat damage, put a counter on it by paying Jund. Target creature control fights on a target creature, draw a card if either creature dies this way. So actually, this is a commander that obviously can really take advantage of fighting again with that non-combat damage. But also, there's certain creatures out there like, some of those like, oh yeah, tap 1 damage each opponent. Oh goodness, that is a great way to build up a bunch of counters on those normally just tiny non-combat centric creatures, but you can make them absolutely massive. But also as Hunt, and again, we talked about what that is. Flip it over, though. Whitemane Companion Harbinger, a 6/6 werewolf. Whenever a creature control deals non-combat damage, put 2 counters on it by paying Jund. Target creature control fights on target creature, draw a card for each creature that dies this way. Yeah, yet another way to really take advantage of all those juicy things. Moving on, though. Nerleon, Seeker of the File, a 3/3 Ultimate Alchemist for 3 mana in Esper. Enters the battlefield, you may search a library for a card, name the white file, reveal, put in your hand, then shuffle. We'll get into that card here in a bit. Beginning of your upkeep, put a charge counter on each potion you control. Get to that here in a second, too. On top of that, pay Esper and tap, create a token's copy of target potion, which can be absolutely massive. The white file, though, is a Ledger artifact potion for 2. Move a charge counter from it, choose 1, add a colorless, scry 1, you gain 1 life. Tap, put a charge counter on it, so you have proliferate effects, can work great with that. Also untap effects too, and it's legendary, so yeah, have fun with that as well. Moving on, though, we've got Parthenax. Got it. 3/5 Elder Dragon for 5 mana in... Oh, let's see, Bant. Yeah, there we go. Flying Vigilance Ward 1. You may cast shout spells from your graveyard. If a spell cast from your graveyard this way, put in your graveyard this turn, exile instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get a Dragon Soul. Dragon Souls work with these shout cards. We'll get to those here in a little bit. But yeah, being able to cast those spells out of your graveyard, a very cool concept. And yeah, these shout cards just in general, very cool. Next up, though, the last of the multicolor commanders that I'm going to be talking about today. We've got Tolfnir, Winterhold Alternalist, a 2/6 Nord Wizard for 5 mana in Simic. Enters bound with a shield counter on it. Whenever one of our shield counters removed from it, draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. A different, unique way to go about the Simic thing of, hey, draw land. But now we've got shield counters, working with getting more of them. Proliferate type effects, you can do that. And also removing them, you can do that a couple different ways. But of course, yeah, just dealing damage to it can be a great way to do just that. Next up, let's tackle some other exciting multicolor spells from this set. A Land Divided Ledger enchantment for 5 mana and 9. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, the player creates a 1/1 green and white Imperial Soldier creature token. On top of that, Imperial Nords you control get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a land for mana during combat, add 1 mana of any color that land could produce. It's a very cool effect. This is basically, hey, okay, everyone gets tokens, all right? Every single player gets tokens. Mine are the biggest, though, all right? Mine are going to be the biggest. They're going to be 3/3s. And on top of that, I get more mana than you during combat as well. Next up, Arcane Enchanter Artifact for 3 mana. Ward 1. Beginning of your upkeep, put a charge counter on Arcane Enchanter, then add X mana any combination of Grixis colors, where X is the number of charge counters on it. This is a very cool thing. You just get down and play, get some charge counters on it, all of a sudden build those up with, well, just waiting and also proliferate effects, and take advantage of all that juicy mana. Next up, Death Elixir, yet another potion we're going to be talking about for 3 mana in Esper. Enters battlefield, 4 charge counters on it. Pay 1, tap, remove 2 charge counters from it. Target creature controller, sacrifice it, lose 2 life, you scry 2. So even if it's indestructible or, say, has regeneration, no, just take it out anyways. And also, yeah, scry 2. Take advantage of this by also getting more counters on it in various ways. Next up, Dragon Aspect. Here we go. They shout, showing you off this amazing kind of card. 6 mana in Selesnya. Additional cost to cast this spell. You may pay up to 2 Dragon Souls to upgrade it that many times. So again, it's kind of like a saga, but it's all at once. And with those Dragon Souls, you can get more value out of them. So with just 1, all right, just by casting it, creature control get +2/+2, gain trample till end of turn. By using 1 more Dragon Soul, creature control get +3/+3, and gain first strike and trample till end of turn. The last one, though, the ultimate, creature control get +4/+4, gain double strike and trample till end of turn. A game-ending play. So yeah, collecting those Dragon Souls, being able to utilize them in a big swingy way like this, that can be absolutely huge. Next up, though, the final multicolored spell I'm going to be talking about, Iron Atronach, an 8/8 Daedra Atronach that has, well, 7 mana and very specific colors that might be reminiscent of, well, maybe one of the ultimatums. Mana's Trample, enters the battlefield. If you cast from your hand, each opponent discards 2 cards, loses 5 life, you draw 2, gain 5. Nearly the same thing as Cruel Ultimatum, but yeah, 8/8 Menace Trampling, giant creature, lovely. Next up, let's quickly go over some colorless cards. I want to bring up some really cool ones like Illusory Hero, a 2/2 Illusion for 3 mana, enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, is the chosen type, it's other types. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, draw a card. Yeah, an amazing card for basically any kind of a tribal strategy out there. Next up, though, the Ebony Warrior, a 2/2 red guard warrior for 3 mana. Attacks up to one target non-land permanent, becomes an equipment artifact with equipped creature, gets +1, and equip 2, and loses all other card types. Pay 2, attach target equipment to the Ebony Warrior. Then if 8 or more permanents are attached to it, you win the game. A really cool way to interact with things, turn them into equipment, utilize those equipment, and of course, a different alternative win condition that is very, very, very spicy. Moving on to some white cards, though, and Cleanse of Guilt is huge. Instant for a single white mana, exile target creature, its controller draws 2 cards. So basically, a new version of like a Swords to Plowshares, but instead of the gaining life or Path to Exile, getting a land, giving away 2 cards. So yeah, it's going to be worth it on a giant creature the opponent has, or if your creature, maybe isn't doing too much for you and you need to draw some cards, get rid of it and actually draw some cards instead. Next up, Force of Valor, instant for 3 mana. It's not your turn, you can exile a white card from your hand to pay this for free, essentially. Permanents you control gain indestructible on turn, a great way to protect your team by getting rid of a card. Next up, Markath Resistance, an enchantment for 3 mana at the beginning of your upkeep, and whenever you shuffle, create a 1/1 white Forsworn creature token. Yeah, again, when you shuffle, that is really cool. There's a lot of ways to take advantage of that. I mean, obviously, just like land ramp, but also, sure, like a tutor effect, or even just like an Evolving Wilds. There you go. Next up, Reachman Shaman, a 1/1 Forsworn Shaman for a single white mana. Again, I love this new concept of utilizing shuffle triggers, essentially. Whenever you shuffle, add white. This can be a very cool effect and a very cool build around. Moving on to some blue cards, though, that I want to highlight. Ancestors Battle Axe is the first one. Equipped for just a single blue mana. It's got Ward 1, equip 6, but its payoff is huge. Equip creature is +3/+3, has Ward 1, and whenever this creature attacks, draw a card for each artifact you control. So yeah, for an artifact-centric deck, that can be a lot of card advantage. Moving on. Echo of Akatosh, a 0/0 dragon illusion for 4 mana in blue. Have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except a dragon. And also it is flying. And also, yeah, it's not legendary if that thing is legendary, which is amazing. So being able to copy anything on the battlefield, make it a flying dragon, lovely. Moving on, Embassy Denial, instant for 3 mana in blue. As long as the spell's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities, counter target spell. Basically uncounterable. It's not happening. Next up, Force of Illusion, instant for 3 blue mana, but again, another one that you can play for free, essentially, by getting rid of a blue card from your hand. Basically, blink all your non-land permanents and bring them back on the end step, so a great way to save things or take advantage of ETBs. Moving on, Frost Breath. This is yet another cool shout. For a single blue mana, for each player, you may tap or untap target permanent that player controls. And the second one is 2 of those. The third one is going to be 3 of those. So again, getting more of those Dragon Souls can help you turn this into a massive, massive card. Next up, Ondolamar Thalmar Justikari, 2/2 Ultimate Battle Mage with Ward 1 for 5 mana in blue. Casting an artifact spell, draw a card. This is where I have to hold myself back from building a deck around this one, like my Warrior deck, where I'm just doing Artifact Storm. But yeah, very, very, very good Artifact deck. Next up, Envision of the 10th Eye. An instant for a single blue mana, draw a card. If sources an opponent controlled have caused you to lose 3 or more life this turn, draw 2 cards instead. I love the concept of this. Again, just a simple cantrip for you, but also can turn into draw 2 if an opponent just happened to either hit you or make you lose life. That's going to happen throughout the game, so it's going to just be a 1 mana draw 2. Moving on to some black cards, though. Force of Despair, instant for 3 mana in black. Again, if it's not your turn, you can get rid of that black card in your hand to exile it and play it for free. Destroy all creatures that enter the battlefield this turn. So all of a sudden, an opponent thinks they have a very, very big spicy turn, and you're like, no, free to get rid of everything. Moving on, Nightblade, a 1/1 Dunmer Vampire for a single black mana. Pay 1, sacrifice a creature, scry 2. Yeah, this is not quite Viserys again, being like a free sacrifice outlet, but it makes up for that by saying, you know what, you pay a little bit and you get more in terms of that scry. Moving on. Rargal Thrall Master, a 2/2 Ledger Creature Vampire Noble for 3 mana. Death Touch. Other vampires and undead you control get +1 have Death Touch. That is huge. On top of that, whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, each opponent loses 2 life. A great way to just drain your opponents a ton. And then finally, Skeletal Dragon, a 4/3 Undead Dragon for 5 mana with some really sick art. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 black Undead creature token by paying 4, discarding a card, bring it back from your graveyard to the battlefield, tap. So yeah, a great way to make an army, and also it's really hard to deal with because it can keep coming back again and again and again. Next up, some red cards. Starting things off with Botched Sacrament, a source for 3 mana in red. Search life for a card, exile, then shuffle. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. A great kind of delayed tutor in a way where you might spend too much mana on this to actually, utilize that card right away, but don't worry about it. Next turn, you can utilize it too. Moving on, though, Force of Destruction. Again, yet another free spell if you exile a red card from your hand. All of a sudden, exile the top X card of your library and create extra tokens for X the number of spells that were cast by opponents this turn. They play the exile cards until the end of your next turn, so a lot of free value if your opponents are casting too many things on a turn. Moving on, Skyforge, Ledger Artifact for 3. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less cast, so great cost reduction there. On top of that, though, activated abilities of equipment you control cost 2 less to activate. Great cost reduction there, too. Can't reduce less than 1, that's okay. Pay 2, tap an indestructible counter on target equipment. An amazing way to, again, save a lot of mana on equipment and make them hardier, too. Next up, Supreme Ultramancer, a 3/2 Breton Wizard for 6 mana in total. Prowess at the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 1 in a red. If you do, make a Flame Atronach token. By paying 2 in a red, put a Prowess counter on target Atronach you control. That can be absolutely huge. Moving on, Young Mammoth. I just love the design of this one. 2/1 Mammoth for a single red mana, but on top of that, when it dies, if it was sacrificed, again, specifically if it was sacrificed, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. I like that sacrifice condition. That is a really cool concept. Finally, though, let's jump into some green cards with a Force of Instinct and yet another free spell if you exile a green card. Control artifacts and enchantments that enter the battlefield this turn, so a great board wipe. Again, if your opponent's going crazy with artifacts or enchantments, say goodbye to those. Next up, Prize Chicken. Very cool. 0/1 bird with flying for 0 mana. Very, very, very interesting card for certain types of strategies out there that might like to use and abuse 0 mana cards. Next up, Lay Down Arms. Instant for 2 mana. For all combat damage to be dealt this turn, draw a card. I am a sucker for fogs, especially ones that replace themselves like this. Then there's Search for Dragon, source for 2 mana, but you can also pay an additional Azorius. You get a Dragon Soul and play additional land this turn. If that spell's additional cost is paid, repeat this process once. Being able to get extra value of this, absolutely, and build up those Dragon Souls for your shouts. Then we've got Sightless Skulk, a 2/1 Falmer Warrior with Prophecy 0, showing off that you can actually cast this card for its Prophecy cost when you draw it if you drew it from a Prophesized trigger, which is huge. On top of that, whenever you cast a spell for its Prophecy cost, you get a counter on this. So again, very cheap, low to the ground creature that can even be free and get bigger. Then we've got, finally, the Eldergleam Mother, a 3/3 Legend Creature Spriggan for 5 mana in green. Trample, whenever you tap a land for mana, scry 1. A lot of amazing scry to be had with that. Some great card selection. On top of that, Beast, Crabs, Fish, Wolves, and other Spriggans you control with +1 have Trample. A great tribal effect for that. That being said, again, a massive thanks to Alano for building this amazing set. Make sure you check it out. Again, link in the description below to the Magic Elder Scrolls Discord. Make sure you check it out and join. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.